this lesson, we'll be discussing cell structure. What the structure of a cell is. Basically, we've said the cell is the structural and functional unit of life. But if you look at the structure of a cell, it's structured like a room, meaning that it has compartments, it has stuffs within it that makes it habitable, that makes it able to carry out its function. So we're going to be dealing with these components of a cell. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to understand all the cell components and differentiate between plant cell and animal cell. The cell can be divided into two. Basically, the cell is called what we know as the protoplasm. Protoplasm means living plasma. Now, this protoplasm is divided into two. That is the cytoplasm and the organelles. Cytoplasm is the liquid or semi-liquid structure within the cell that enables the organelles to live and perform their function. It's what enables communication between the different organelles. Now, these organelles are what actually performs the function in the cell, the functional unit of the cell. Now, these organelles include the cell membrane, which is the house or the wall that walls in all these organelles. One of the major functions of the wall, apart from giving the cell a shape, is that it helps the movement of things, of substances into and out of the cell. And it has some structure that enables it to perform this function optimally. Then for plant cells have what is known as a cell wall or cellulose cell wall. This is a wall made up of cellulose that help the plant cell to have a compact shape. And that's one of the reasons why trees are rigid, because of these cell walls that are in their cells. Moving further, we have the endoplasmic reticulum or ER. Now, what endoplasmic reticulum does is that it stores food and transports food particles to other parts of the cell. Then going ahead, we have what we know as the mitochondria. And this mitochondria is only present in eukaryotic cell but absent in prokaryotic cell, meaning that bacteria don't have mitochondria. The function of mitochondria is very simple. It helps in the release of energy from food, or we can say it's the respiratory organ of the cell. It helps the cell break down sugar into energy and giving out carbon dioxide. Then we have the nucleus. The nucleus is like the brain box of the cell. The nucleus determines what the cell does, determines how the cell does what it does, and also how the cell multiplies. All these are controlled by the nucleus. It's like the head office of the cell. Then we have the ribosome. The ribosome produces RNA, which also help in replication and cell growth. Then finally, we have what is known as the vacuole. The vacuole is a structure that helps the cell to store food. We call it food vacuole, and it can also help to remove unwanted products. Now, when the cell wants to take in food, it forms what is known as a food vacuole, takes in the food, and digests the food. After it has digested the food and wants to give out waste, it forms a vacuole again. Vacuole meaning that it's somehow like a vacuum that encompasses this substance. Now, after it has broken down the food and it wants to take away and cell wants to excrete, the vacuole encompasses the waste products and takes it out of the cell. That is the major function of this cell organ. Now, the other organ, but these are the major organelles that we have within the cell. We have lysosomes, which helps in digestion of food substances. We have so many other things. We have the RNA. We have so many other things like that on the cell. We have the Golgi body also. It also helps to transport protein. And with that, we come to the next part of this lecture, which is similarities between plant cell and animal cell. When we look at cell on the microscope, how do we know that this cell is a plant cell or an animal cell? The similarity between them is that they all have mitochondria, they all have cell membrane, they all have endoplasmic reticulum. In fact, they all have most of the organelles, but they have some differences between them. For instance, animal cells don't have chloroplast, for a simple reason that they don't produce their own food. Also, animal cell is not, the structure is not rigid because it doesn't have what is known as the cell wall. The cell wall is what makes the plant cell rigid. Animal cell doesn't have this, and so it is not rigid. It is either spherical or amoeboid in shape. Also, animal cell have small vacuoles scattered around it, whereas the plant cell has a very large vacuole, one large vacuole. Take note of that, one large vacuole. Another attribute of animal cell is that in animal cell the nucleus is at the center of the cell, whereas in plant cell the nucleus is not at the center. It can be in any part of the cell, but not at the center. So these are the basic differences between plant cells and animal cell.